Hey guys, it's Maymay, and if you were here for Thursday night's after show, you would have seen that we revealed our new stamp sets, and I promised you some sample videos and also show you how to use them. This set is called Pop of Color, and this set is called Tall Tag Builder. So I have made some samples, but I want to show you how they work. Let's start with Pop of Color real quick. So we designed this set for those of you who, like me, are not very good at coloring, but you love the look of a colored image. So here's how this one works. It's called Pop of Color because you're going to stamp this image in a solid color, and then the open areas, just a couple of them, you'll just color in different ways. So for example, this guy right here, I love the sample for this one. I stamped this image, and then let me show you. Instead of just coloring it, I actually paper pieced the chair. So you see how it looks like I colored, although I just filled in a few spots and it matches my paper. I love that. That was the idea behind this guy, being able to just put little bits of color. Now you can do more than I did. You could color every open space, but sort of the idea is to have a lot of that solid image behind, a lot of the bold color, and then the little pops of color here and there. So that's that one, which also has paper piecing. So a couple of things I want to tell you about the stamp set. When you're working with it, make sure you put this sort of positioner, not necessarily one that picks up and moves, but like a MISTI or like a stamp wheel or something where it can be stamped multiple times. This is a bold image, and until it is seasoned, until it's used several times, you might struggle. And also, depending on the ink you're using, this ink I used here is pigment ink, which means it could move with alcohol marker. I didn't stress too much because I'm not doing anything but just coloring in the images, and I'm not going over and over and doing any blending, so it worked fine. But if you want to use, say, Memento or a dye ink to work with your alcohol markers, you want to make sure that you're using a positioner so you can stamp over and over again to get a solid image. Another thing that I suggest are these guys, the Altenew stamp erasers. What they do, they're not really an eraser, I don't think. I've never tried to erase anything with them. But what they do is if you take your clean stamp, turn it up on the stamp side, and you rub this on, it kind of primes the stamp. It almost fills in the pores, so your ink works better. And I think I do have some footage to show you of that. So we'll let you see that, and we'll look at the next card. Now for this little guy down here, I love this image. It is so cute, and I want to show you a couple tips and tricks about it. This is my sample for it. This was the original idea, that you would stamp this image and then you would just hit a couple spots with color. This is literally what we had planned to do. The paper piecing was a bonus. But what I did here was stamp in black, and this is actually Memento that I stamped multiple times to get it nice and dark. And then I just colored a couple places with one red marker, and I love how that looks. But part of my favorite part of this stamp set is being able to use it to be the entire card. That is the focal image. I don't have to do anything else. I have that image and I have this wording, and it does the whole thing. This card could be your Christmas card and be made so fast. And honestly, you could make this same card using every one of these images in this place, and it would be super cute. Now, I would suggest this die. Let me show you. This is the one we're carrying now, the nested postage label and tag. What's so good about this is these each have a postage edge and a background edge. Do you see that? So I have a postage edge with the white and then a background with the red. And then I added another postage edge because I wanted it to be a little contrasting from the background. So this stamp set, this die set is perfect for this if you want to pick that up. So there's card number 2. Let's look at number 3. This little guy is not dry. Do you see that? I'm still letting him dry here. Once I finished the card, I thought it just needed a little more shimmer. I've got some shimmer in the ribbon, and I've got some shimmer on the little star at the top because I colored it in with a glitter jelly roll. But it needed a little bit more, so I put a little glossy accents on the candy canes and also on my little gingerbread man in the middle. What I love about this is it's this image, but I actually punched this with a 2.5-inch punch. And I love how that looks, and then turned it into an ornament. And if you got our scripture set this month, the names of Jesus, if you got it, this is one of the little ornament tops from that SVG, and I just recycled it and put it on this one too. And I think this one turned out super cute. Now, another thing I want to encourage you to do is to consider not just using black ink. Another way to use this image, like especially for this tree, is to think about stamping it in green. So why don't we do that together? Now, if you, like me, do not mind white scraps, and I don't, I cut a piece that is 4 by 5 1/4 to start with. what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put this down into my stamp wheel, stick that down, and I'm going to go ahead and line my stamp up here as if that's what my card would look like. And then I'll talk to you about for that in a second. So if I put this guy here and then later I decide I want to cut it out with a die or a punch or something like that, I can. But if I put it here and really love it, it can just live here on my card and I can design my card around it. Now I'm taking a second to get this kind of centered. I'm looking at both sides and I'm a little off still. Let's come this way a tiny bit. And now I'll put my wheel on. All right, so let's load this guy up. I'm going to show you several things here. I hope you don't mind just hanging out and let me show you some tips and tricks as we go. So one thing I love about using the stamp wheel with this is because the whole stamp wheel is sticky, it holds my page down nice and firm. And I want you to see this stamp before I use the eraser on it. See how clear it is? Now I'm going to place this down and use my Altenew stamp eraser real quick. And what I do is just rub it over. Now, if you've used your stamp and it didn't stamp well and you decide afterwards that you want to use the stamp eraser on it, be sure to clean your stamp first and also let it dry. If there's moisture on it, I noticed that the eraser just kind of slides over instead of actually working. So make sure your stamp is clean and dry before you do this. And I'm going to show you this in several stages. Now I want you to look at it here. See how the stamp is almost cloudy? Can you also see the little bits of eraser bit? I don't know that that's going to show up on camera, but there's little bits of eraser bit on there that you need to clean off. And you want to make sure you do that with a lint-free cloth. I'm just going to take this and knock it off. As a matter of fact, you see it coming right over here. This is what we're knocking off that you probably couldn't see. So you'll want to get that off. If you don't, you're going to have a bumpily stamp, if that makes sense. So go ahead and clean that off nice and good. You're kind of like buffing it, okay? And this guy's great. They come in a 3-pack. I love them very much. All right, now let's ink this up. Now I could do this in pigment ink and it would just be super easy and beautiful because pigment is going to just kind of sit on here so beautiful and make this easy. But I want to show you dye ink and I'm going to use Later Gator from Simon Hurley. So let me show you how this looks with dye. It might still pull up a bit. Dye is water-based and it kind of does that. So we'll look at it once I get it nice and covered. All right, you see how I've missed some areas with my ink pad? That can happen. Everything being perfectly level is kind of not a thing. And also your stamp wheel can kind of sink in a little bit. So you'll want to just pay attention and come back into the middle and make sure you have ink everywhere. And sometimes you're still going to miss it, and that's no big deal. That's why we're using something that we can stamp over and over. All right, first time stamping, we use the eraser, and now dye ink. Let's see what it looks like. Another thing I want to caution you on, I have been using my impressible with this. I like it, but I found that I can overpress my impressible here. I found that this wheel can kind of give a little bit. So if you've got some fine lines in your image, and I do here in the corners, be very careful not to overpress. Now I can tell that I've got some pooling in some places. You see how it's kind of pulled up and it's kind of speckly. Sometimes with dye ink, that'll go away on its own. I don't know if you've ever noticed, you'll do this and walk away and come back and it's different. I think that's because this is not scientific. This is Maymay thinking. I think that's because the water kind of sinks in and kind of disperses itself. But I'm going to go ahead and stamp it again and try to get that more solid right away. And I find I'm typically stamping with dye ink at least 3 times. At least 3 times. I did one earlier that it took me 5 times to do. I was using a Memento Dewdrop, so it was a little bit different. But I find it takes several passes. Okay, I'm going to let that be it. I do know that when I let this sit and let the ink kind of settle in, it's going to spread out. I will caution you, if you decide to use like a white pen on here or anything like that, you've got to let this dry completely because we stamped it so many times with the ink that it's really saturated the page. So let it dry completely. But for alcohol, we'll be fine. I'm going to grab a marker and show you how I would color this in. Now, learn from my mistake. Let me show you. I'm going to peel this guy off. Did you even see how wet the page is when I peeled that off? It was pretty wet. See this? This is because I have a habit of leaving them on here and then coloring with my marker. This doesn't bother me, but if it does, be sure to move that away before you color. All right, I'm going to use 2 colors on this one. I'm going to use red. This is actually black cherry. I'm going to check this color on a scrap first and make sure it's the one I want to use. That's a little dark. Let's get a different one. Let's try this color, strawberry jam. Oh, that's much better. Let's use that one. Okay. So in these open areas is where I'm going to color, and I'm just kind of tapping this color in and letting the alcohol kind of run to the edges. It's so easy to do, just to give a little pop of color. For the star, I'm just going to touch it with a little yellow. And that's it. That's all the coloring I'm going to do. Now, I think this would be beautiful in black, so I'm going to cut away and do it in black just so you can see it, and we'll be right back. So to show you just how different these look, this one's done in green, this one's done in black, the same red and yellow. But I love that. And you don't have to know how to color or shade. You still get the look of color simply. All right, that one is Pop of Color. Let's look at Tall Tag Builder. All right, you guys, this is Tall Tag Builder. I love this set. If you know me, you know I love a tag builder set, and I love the concept. But for this one, what I really adore is these vertical sentiments, which we haven't done before. And you don't just have to use them on these tags, you can use them on anything. But I want to show you how this works and then show you some samples. All right, let's start with the tag. Now, this set is designed so that you can take one piece of 8.5 by 11 and make 6 tags with it, okay? So here's how it works. We're going to put a photo of this design for you to have to reference on our blog, but for now I'm just going to talk you through it. This tag ends up being 5.5 inches tall. So what you'll do is you'll put your 8.5 by 11 cardstock in to your trimmer on the 8.5 inch side, okay? And you're going to trim to 5.5. And then that piece is going to get trimmed down 2 3/4 4 times. So 2 3/4, 2 3/4, and one more time, 2 3/4. And this gets you 4 tall tags. I love this. We do this so you don't have to have a die or an SVG. This is super easy to do, okay? This piece we need to trim down by 1/4 inch, or you can trim it to 2 3/4. Either way you want to do that, okay? I'm going to trim it to 2 3/4 because it looks like my paper was a tiny bit generous, or either my cuts were a little skinny. So now I've got another 2 3/4 strip, and we're going to cut this down to 5.5. And we get 2 more out of that. You see that? So we planned this so you could get 6 from one sheet, and let me show you how to stamp them. Okay, so on your stamp positioner, Misty or stamp wheel, line your piece up, whichever way you do. I always use these alignment guides. It just helps me there. And then take your stamp. And do you notice how wide this is? That's on purpose. If we cut it very thin close to this line, you would really struggle getting this stamp to lay straight and not be wavy. So we have to keep some of that inside of there for that purpose. But what I do is just kind of drag this into place like so, and it is just going to fit your cardstock. And you might have to do a couple of little sample presses or images whenever you get started. But if you use some scrap paper, you'll get it lined up just right. I just kind of do this until it's there. Another tip, if you find that your stamp keeps sticking to your finger, if you'll use an eraser, the stamp doesn't stick to an eraser. So if you need to scooch anyway, you can do it like that. All right, I'm going to pick this up. I think it's in a good spot. Pick this guy up. Now, the one thing I want to caution you on, when you pick it up, I want you to turn this guy over, and these center pieces right here, I want you to press them down. A lot of times when we have these extra kind of bleed pieces in there, if you don't press them down, they'll pick up ink, and then they'll stamp when you press down, and we don't want to do that. All right, next I'm going to use some VersaFine Onyx Black, and I'm going to tap. See this? Tap. I only want it to pick up where I want it to ink. So I'm just going to tap onto the surface. I don't like to press and twist. A lot of times that gets ink way down into the image, and we don't really need that. All right, so there's that little stamp. I love this stamp. It's so cute. And I'm going to press this down. Now I'm going to do it one more time because that's a little pale. You could just use a marker, a memento marker, something like that to just fill that in, but I'm just going to do it one more time. Perfect. Now, if you want to, you can take this guy out and flip this over and stamp both sides. Now, because we're not perfect, it might not line up exact because you just can't be absolutely perfect. But here's the thing. People can't look at both sides at the same time, so we're all right. I told my son that this weekend about home decor and how we decorate. And I said, you know, a lot of people try to get this to match that and that to match this. And I said, you can't look at anything. You can only look at one thing in your room at a time. So I don't know why we stress about what's on the other side. I can't look at them together. Same thing here. There we go. Let's peel this guy away. That will clean off. That's because I used pigment ink and I didn't give it time to dry. That won't leave a stain. All right, now that you've got this guy stamped, we're going to take some scissors. This is my favorite part. You don't need a die for this. You're going to take some scissors, line this up right next to the cut, and it looks like you cut this out on an SVG cut or with a die or something like that. It fits perfect, and you can make these tags all day long. Now let's do to and from on this guy. We already have to and from loaded on this box, so I'm going to put this tag in, and you can do it either way, but I'm going to do it this way. I think it's cute to have it like that on the back. You don't have to do it long ways, but if you're somebody, I kind of have a bigger handwriting. For somebody like me, this is a nice way to have it so that you can have plenty of room to write. And you get several to and froms on that set, so you can choose the one you like the best. You can also do these in different colors at this point and get different color ink on the page, and that'd be super cute too. So there's to and from. Now let's work on the front. So for this part, you can pick anything you want. Let's do Christmas. I think this will be cute. Now, Shannon made some samples for you. I'm going to show you in just a second. And she also filmed her process. So we're going to put that in too. I just want to show you kind of how this can line up. There's lots of different ways, actually. This particular sentiment says, wishing you a merry, and it has a line connected to it. So you can put these right beside each other like this. I think this is really cute, and something I really think would be adorable is to stamp these in multiple colors. So this is how you can line them up. You can use that eraser tip if you need to. You can go to the middle, to the side. You also have all of these little packages and stars and ornaments that can go beside, so you can really load this tag up. I want to stamp this in two colors, so I'm going to pull this guy away for now and do Merry first. So using some Glamorous from VersaFine Claire. Inked up the word Christmas. Now I'm going to place this little line, and I'm going to do it, I think, in green. So that is my tag, and we poke a hole in the top and add some ribbon, and I love that. I can see making these for just a stack of them to have for my gift wrap area at my house. I always put a gift wrap station in my bedroom so I can go in there, turn on Christmas movies, and wrap, and I think this would be perfect for that. Let me show you the samples that Shannon did. So there's one which this is super cute, done in the black and white. I love that. Here's some that she colored. Look how cute they are. So cute. And just some simple baker's twine. I love that too. Now, she got a little bit of footage of making these, so we're going to add that in here so you can watch how she stamped and built them and colored them, and we'll get right back together. All right, you guys, there's all our samples from two of our new stamp sets. We have two more we're going to be playing with on Thursday night. So if you purchased either of those, and I'll show you those in a second, you'll want to stick around for that. So that is Tall Tag Builder and Pop of Color. Now, here's the thing. I have other ideas. I'm going to be bringing those to you. I've got some ideas with these for gift card presents. I think that'll be so cute. And a few more ideas for this one as well. Don't miss how cute the sentiments are also. These are really good. You could use these with your tags, and you could take the tags from our previous tag builder sets and use those images on these as well. Speaking of that, if you would like to see those, we're going to put a playlist for you guys to watch. We can put that here on the screen so you can click and see previous tag builder sets. Now, the other two sets we have, Festive Font. Are you kidding me? It's an 8x12 stamp set. It's incredible. You'll see that on Thursday night being used. And also Light of the World. I love this one too, and we'll have some samples for you in our premiere on Thursday night. Now, we have premiere videos at 5:30 Central Daylight Time on Thursday evening, and then we'll do our after show right after. So we hope to see you there. All right, you guys, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and give a Vinny. And until next time, bye now.